wisdom,
prudentia,
justice,
justitia,
temperance,
temperantia,
courage.
fortitudo.
Applying ancient philosophy to modern life, this is the Sunday Stoic.
Welcome to the Sunday Stoic podcast, coming to you via my phone, sitting in my car. That is my high-tech studio today. So I hope you enjoyed the episode last week with Dr. Benjamin Ryder from the University of Central Arkansas, one of my colleagues. I hope to have him on again. He wants to talk about the relationship of Stoicism and emotions, kind of their theory of emotions, and we'll do that soon. And if you listened to it first and couldn't stand the way it was mixed, I had a listener complain that I had my voice in one side of his headphones and Dr. Ryder's voice in the other side. I remixed it and re-uploaded it, so check that out. Also, I want to point out that the College of Stoic Philosophers is doing their webinar soon. I think it's about $5, and there's a link to that in the show description. And I have about, I think, 6 or 7 more Stoic coins left to sell on Etsy before I'm out. So if you want one of those, go to Etsy and just type in Stoic coin, and you should be able to find it pretty readily. So like I said, I'm in my car. This episode is going to be uneditable because I'm using the phone app to record it. So forgive me if it's a little rough, but I'm back in school. I have little time to record these things, and my son's awake and playing and eating and yelling or whatever in the house right now. And so the best solution, the obstacle is the way, and the best solution I have is to come out here. But I appreciate you all listening. I know some of the Stoic podcasts are very straightforward. Here's the lesson, goodbye. Mine's a bit more rambly, maybe a little more personal information, but I am not coming to you from on high. I'm just, like I've said before, just a guy learning this along with you. And I tie in my own personal life with Stoicism to understand it better. Trying to make this more thorough than a life hack. Something that's long-standing, long-lasting, and deeply ingrained. Not just something to get through a particular hard time. So this week we're going to hear from Epictetus. I'm going to paraphrase some pieces of Epictetus rather than redo the entire reading. But I recommend you check it out. It's one that, just looking at the title, I wouldn't have thought it to be all that useful. But I actually don't even have the title in front of me. But it's something like, "To those who would leave school early because of sickness." And it's full of good little bits, though. So I think it's something worth discussing this week. Oh, here we go. I do have it on my notes here. "To students who leave school for reasons of ill health." This is from the Discourses of Epictetus, Book 3, number 5. So Epictetus says, or paraphrasing what a student would say, I am ill and want to go home." "Oh, and so you were never ill at home then? If you're not improving your will here, then you came for no reason. Go back home and attend to your plot of land." So what's he saying there? You know, this is a really good point. Oh, so you're sick, so you're going to go home. Well, fine, do it. But were you never ill there? That's something that I think Socrates kind of alludes to that as well, where Socrates says, "Oh, so you've been given a reprieve from the death penalty, and you the way you begged for it, you would assume that you were given a reprieve from death altogether. But you're not immortal. You're still going to die. You were just given another year or two. So you're ill here, okay? And so you say, well, I'm sick. I'm going to go home. Well, no matter where you go, you're still sick. So if you're really learning to improve your will, you might as well stay. Learn to overcome that illness as much as you can, work around it as much as you can, and keep on working. But if you're not really learning anything here, then just go home. But if you know that you are getting rid of bad judgments, transferring attention from things outside to things within, why would sickness concern you? Death and illness will overtake us no matter what we do. So one thing to keep in mind, Stoicism doesn't offer any mental tricks to get rid of pain, to get rid of sickness. But what it does offer us is a way to reframe our relationship with pain, with sickness, rather than lamenting, oh, woe is me, I'm so sick, I'm in so much pain, I can't do anything. We can tell ourselves, this is an indifferent. Yes, it hurts. Yes, I feel like crap. But my character is still intact, and I can choose to do this other thing that will make me a better person anyway. I've known people who, and I don't want to talk bad about people, right? That's not my goal here, but I've known people who had some kind of health issue, and they just rode that excuse for everything, right? They just wither away. They don't even live, as far as I can tell. They just, their pain, their physical disability now defines who they are, and they bemoan it, and that's what they do. And I've seen other people who, at least to me, seem in way worse shape, who are way more active, engaged, and don't let that issue define who they are. So we have to keep in mind, we talk about the clause in Stoicism where you say, I'll be there fate permitting. You might think, I'll be there illness permitting, right? But your life, you're in it for the long haul. Even if there is an illness, that's not an excuse, or we shouldn't allow it to become an excuse for just giving up and sitting in the chair and watching TV. We might not be able to do everything we used to do, but by golly, we can sure do something. Just listen back to the episode with Carmelo from a year or two ago. If that's not inspirational, I don't know what is. So if you don't recall, I'll put the link to that episode in the show description as well. So like he says, if you know you are getting rid of bad judgments, transferring attention from things outside to things within, why would sickness concern you? Because you're working on your character regardless of the pain. Death and illness will overtake you no matter whether you go home or not. If you stay here, you're still going to be sick. If you go home, you'll be sick. So if you're getting something out of being here, stay here. What do you want to do when death or illness come for you? What is it that's a good question. What do you want to be doing when death or illness come for you? If you have something better to do than what you're doing now, then go do it. Go do whatever it is that you want to be doing when death comes for you. What is it that you would be proud to die doing? And don't think of some grand nonsense, but just everyday stuff that you would be proud of, right? Like you would be proud being a good dad or mom, or you would be proud to be helping others when you died. Or if you were laying in bed, deathly ill, you'd be proud to die living with that pain as well as you could. It's said elsewhere by, I believe it is, maybe it's Seneca, that even to lay in bed in pain, even to lay in bed sick, you can show bravery by, one way is by just not moaning all the time about how sick you are. So I hope, here's what Epictetus says, I hope when I go, I am occupied with the care of my character, passionless, free, unrestricted, and unrestrained. So just a reminder, passionless doesn't mean like, I don't care about anything. It's my birthday. Nobody cares. But free of those highly emotional, overly emotional passions. So working on his character, free, unrestricted, unrestrained. And something I would add, let's not forget how important it is to be a social organism to the Stoics. Also practicing justice at the point of death, helping others. If you could, it's always nice when someone dies and leaves their money to help some organization. But to me, at least from a justice perspective, it means more if you do some of that while you're still around. I I posted on Twitter. My wife and I went to see Weird Al Yankovic for our anniversary because that's how nerdy we are. And it was awesome. But he himself took the time to visit a hospital to see a cancer patient who was too sick to go to the concert, but really wanted to see him, and I think that was really cool. That's, that kind of justice. I would be happy to die doing something like that for someone else. That would be a good thing to do. And then Epictetus goes on, because, Epictetus is one of the most religious Stoics, at least that I'm familiar with. He says, God, did I misuse what you gave me? Did I ever blame you? If I fell sick when you wanted, I did not complain. Did you ever find me with anything but a smile on my face, ready to obey? Listen to that. A Stoic saying, did you ever find me with anything but a smile on my face? So he's praying to God because, remember, the Stoics say everything's kind of slated. Fate is a thing to the Stoics. God says, you're going to be sick now. So you say, well, I'm sick now. It's the will of God. I'll make the best of it. And I'll live through whatever hardship I have to with a smile on my face. Not mopey, not grumpy, not with a lowercase s stoic expression on my face, but with a smile on his face. Then he goes on with one of those great analogies. Not that I must leave the fair. Now that I must leave the fair, I have nothing but gratitude that I got to share in the celebration. So he talks about that a lot of times, that life is like a fair, a celebration, a festival, a carnival. And you're watching it, you're partaking in some of the fun, you're experiencing it, but then eventually you have to go, but the festival's still going on. And he says, now I have to leave. I have to leave the festival, but I have gratitude that I got to experience it. That is something to cultivate there. The gratitude, no matter what your condition and when you have to go, that you got to breathe air, to see the sunset, to talk to people you loved. At some point in your life, you got to do some of those things, and the gratitude you can have for having received that gift. Then he says, Socrates says, some people like to tend their farm, others their horses. I like to daily monitor my self-improvement. That kind of harkens back to what we're all doing. My brother's learning to fly an airplane. He also has farm equipment in his family and many other hobbies. I woodwork when I can. I have an old Volkswagen Thing that I actually put up for sale today on the internet. I kind of hate to sell it. It's sentimental and I really love it, but I leave it parked most of the time. I never use it. It's a hobby. It's a hobby car that I don't have time for. So I could devote my time to that, but I would personally rather devote my time to self-improvement. Like Epictetus says here. Some people like their horses, some people like their farms. I like to monitor my self-improvement. I have a long way to go, and I know a lot of you are way better at this than I am. You should have your own podcasts, but I'm doing my utmost to just try to grow a little at a time. Maybe not as fast as some of you are, but a little at a time. And I still think one thing that would help us so much is community. If you know another person or two or three that like Stoicism and you can get together, that will help so much rather than pretending this is an individualist philosophy that you do in your bedroom by yourself. Get with other people if you can. I have not met anyone else other than people I've introduced it to who aren't, who are learning about it. And that might grow into something more, but it's really hard to meet others that way. If you're in a metropolis where you can form a Stoic club, a book club, or a group that gets together, by all means do so. Anyway, that is essentially the episode this week. Just remember that whether you are in pain or you are ill, you could use that as an excuse to shut yourself away. And far be it from me to assume how it feels in your condition, right? But bear in mind, you're going to be in pain or ill no matter where you shut yourself in. So you might as well, if possible, keep on engaging with the world. Keep on learning, keep on growing in spite of those obstacles. That being said, I had an email from Gary who asked how a Stoic would deal with depression. And far be it from me to give any kind of... I'm not giving medical advice of any sort here. I'm just giving my own opinion. This is opinion. But he asked, would a Stoic just say, well, this is out of my control, so I'll just get through it or I'll ignore it? I think that, this is going to be ineloquent here, but from my understanding, and I have battled with some depression too, and I did it when I was younger, and I never sought treatment, and I should have. But my opinion is that a huge chunk of the depression, at least that I suffered from, is likely chemical brain imbalance. It's not something... It's true, I don't have power over it. But that's not a reason to say I'm indifferent and try to suffer through it in silence. That's a reason to say, hey, I'll go to the doctor. I'll talk to a psychologist. I'll get help. Because this is something out of my power. I don't have to be ashamed of it. This is not something to be ashamed of. I didn't cause this. I'm going to get help. Now, the part that you do have power of that also is quite powerful is you can stop enhancing it. Just like the sickness Epictetus talks about here, where you say, well, I'm sick, and then you make it worse. You turn the dial up to 11 by saying, well, I'm going to go lay down, and I'm going to weep and moan at home and not engage with school anymore or whatever. Okay, if you do that, then you're focusing on that sickness. You're giving that sickness full power, and you're going to ruminate on it. You're going to make it worse. If you don't get help with your depression, if you let it define you, or you try to battle it without help, and it is a chemical based depression, it's going to get worse. But you do have the power to stop ruminating and adding your own judgment to it. Because I know if I just sat around mopey, right, I'm depressed, and then I blame myself, and then it just goes like a rerun in your head. This is your fault. You're useless. You're stupid. You're ugly. No one's going to like you. Why do you keep doing that? That kind of stuff. That's the stuff that went through my head over and over and over again. You can slow that down or put the brakes on it. Maybe you can just slow it down and then have medical help to help it go away. Like I said, advice only here, opinion. But it's not all up to you. That's true. Part of it is. But part of it we should seek help for. As Stoics, we like to say we are that rock that the ocean smashes against on the shore, but we are also social beings, and we have a mind that's a lot more complex than even the Stoics knew at the time. So don't hesitate to seek out help. All right, everyone. I appreciate you sticking with me. I am sweating like crazy in my car. I'm going to let you go. You have a great week, and as always, carpe diem.
Thank you for listening to The Sunday Stoic. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, rate, and review The Sunday Stoic on iTunes. Become a member of the Sunday Stoic team, earn rewards, and be an integral part of the show by becoming a patron at www.patreon.com/SundayStoic. Contact the show by emailing sundaystoic@gmail.com or by leaving a voicemail at 501-503-3132. To find out more, visit www.sundaystoicpodcast.com. And as Steve always says, carpe diem.